today because of Anne's vision and inspiration. The conference really wouldn't have happened without Anne. And so it's really just amazing the way it's all come together. And it's largely due to Anne and her vision in founding the Tarot Guild of Australia, and also in coming up with the idea for the conference and then having the energy to pull it all together. So Anne came to tarot about 15 years ago, or even a bit longer, through her own personal healing journey. She was a member of the church, and when she found that the church could no longer provide some of the answers to her deepest questions, she turned to esoteric studies and eventually found her way to the tarot. And she's been teaching tarot for 15 years, and like many of you here today, I met Anne through one of her tarot classes over 10 years ago. And I would say she is probably the most respected tarot teacher in Victoria, if not Australia. And she has done so much to improve the reputation and standing of tarot in the wider community. And I think she's done so much as well to improve the ethics and the status of tarot practitioners as well. As I said, she founded the Tarot Guild of Australia 5 years ago, and from a very small core of 4 or 5 people, it's grown to a group of 160 or more, both interest and professional members. And they are mostly in Victoria at the moment. There are a few in other states, but I know Anne has an agenda in the next 12 months to expand membership into other states and to get branches going in the other states. And it's interesting, in the last few days, she has done so many interviews with the media and handled them with such aplomb. It's been wonderful to see her take tarot to a whole new audience out there. Apart from us tarot enthusiasts, there are a lot more people now who know not only about the Tarot Guild, but a bit more about tarot. So I just want to thank her for handling those media interviews so well. And she's speaking today on our conference theme, which is Bridging Worlds. And please welcome Anne Shorter.
Thank you, Jane. What an absolutely wonderful introduction. Jane has also been so instrumental in today and the whole conference coming about. So also I'd like to take this opportunity as part of my talk to very much thank Jane as well. So could you please? The title of my talk, A Bridge Between Worlds, A Thread Between Lives. Like many people, I did come to the tarot as a result of perhaps my own wounding and the wounding that I saw in my own family. And to try and trace this back and try and understand why does this happen to us, and to be able to see the patternings, which in my family is the patterning of the wounded child. And I'm not going to talk about the wounded child this morning, but I am going to talk about the way that we can connect things that are happening in our present life back through past lives, through looking at the images of the tarot. The tarot, and particularly the major arcana cards of the tarot, suggest through their symbolic images the concept of reincarnation. There are also images which show the soul connected to the spiritual body. There are also images which show the soul connected to the spiritual source while inhabiting our physical body. In this paper, I plan to illustrate the way in which we can access the inherent wisdom of the tarot to explore past lives and our past in this lifetime. The concept of reincarnation in the tarot can be approached from a concept of the soul self and physical reincarnation, which literally means to make flesh, or from a psychological perspective of giving form to a mental or emotional state or conviction. First of all, we shall explore the images in the tarot that indicate the concept of reincarnation. We can see on the screen the card of the Fool from the Rider-Waite deck. The first of the major arcana cards, the Fool symbolises our eternal self embarking on another life journey. The number 0 the Fool carries symbolises continuity. We complete a cycle and return to where we started to begin the cycle again. The white sun in the background symbolises the pure source of life the Fool has now put behind him. He's about to walk off the edge of a cliff into another incarnation or life experience. With his head high and seemingly innocent demeanour of assuredness, he seems unaware of what experiences he may encounter. However, as we look at him, like his little white dog, we may be drawn to warn him of the dangers that may lie ahead. Perhaps his confidence is well-founded, symbolised by the wreath around his head. This suggests his victory in a past life or a past life situation. He has with him his bag, which contains all his past life knowledge and wisdom. However, his bag is behind his head, and therefore not part of his conscious mind. It is beyond memory. The bag carries the emblem of the eagle, symbolising his task to raise his consciousness and soul level in this lifetime. The archetype of the Fool resonates with each of us as it symbolises the hope, excitement, fear, optimism, enthusiasm and freshness of a new beginning. I believe the Fool archetype in the tarot very clearly illustrates the concept of reincarnation. The concept of reincarnation itself is one that resonates very deeply in the consciousness of the human mind. It has been part of most religious belief systems at some point in their evolutionary phase. It was embraced particularly by earlier Eastern civilizations. The following is from the Egyptian Book of the Dead. I am yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and I have the power to be born a second time. I am the hidden soul who createth the gods. I am the Lord of those who are raised up from the dead. I am Osiris, the Lord of eternity. The Egyptian myth of Isis and Osiris is a story about the cycle of reincarnation. From Hindu teachings, the god of death conveys the teachings of Nachikas to a young man about the unchanging eternal. The knower is never born, nor dies, nor is it from anywhere, nor did it become anything. Unborn, eternal, immemorial. This ancient is not slain when the body is slain. Smaller than small, greater than great. This self is hidden in the heart of man. Know that the self is the lord of the chariot. The body verily is the chariot. Know that the soul is the charioteer, and emotion the reins. They say that the bodily powers are the horses, and that the external world is their field. When the self, the bodily powers and emotions are joined together, this is the right enjoyer. Thus say the wise. Reincarnation is accepted as part of the esoteric or Kabbalistic teachings of Judaism. In Ecclesiastes it says, "The thing that hath been, it is said that which shall be, and there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, See, this is new? It hath been already of old time, which was before us. There is no remembrance of former things." In the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, Buddha is quoted as saying, "What you are is what you have been, and what you will be is what you do now." And Padmasambhava developed this notion further. If you want to know your past life, look into your present condition. If you want to know your future, look at your present actions. The tarot can assist us to accomplish this introspection as it acts as a mirror to highlighting our inner state of awareness at any given moment in time. A belief in reincarnation existed also within Christianity, well into the Middle Ages. Origen, who the Encyclopaedia Britannica states was the most prominent of all the Church Fathers, with the possible exception of Augustine, believed in the pre-existence of souls, and wrote in the 3rd century that each soul comes to this world reinforced by the victories or enfeebled by the defeats of its previous lives. However, it is generally believed that a Catholic Church council anathematized the doctrine of the pre-existence of the soul, and by implication, therefore, reincarnation. Alfred Nutt, one of the foremost authorities on reincarnation, is quoted as saying that in Greek mythology, as in Irish, the concept of rebirth proves to be a dominant factor in the same religious system in which Elysium is likewise an essential feature. When we think of reincarnation or past lives, it is often the term karma that is accentuated. I can't tell you how many times I have been asked the question, what is karma? The word literally means act or deed. In his book Life Cycles, Christopher Bash says, the esoteric teaching is that karma refers collectively to the many principles of cause and effect that govern the evolution of human consciousness. The Buddhist's view of karma, as stated in the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, is given by the Dalai Lama when he says, if you try to subdue your selfish motives and develop more kindness and compassion for others, ultimately you yourself will benefit more than you would otherwise. Foolish, selfish people are always thinking of themselves, and the result is negative. Wise, selfish people think of others, help others as much as they can, and the result is that they too receive benefits. In the Secret Doctrine of the Theosophical Society, it says, but who shall dare to tax eternal justice? Verily, there is not an accident in our lives, not a misshapen day or a misfortune that could not be traced back to our own doings in this or another life. Those who believe in karma have to believe in destiny, which from birth to death every man is weaving, thread by thread, around himself as a spider does his cobweb. This law, whether conscious or unconscious, predestines nothing and no one. Karma creates nothing, nor does it design. It is man who plants and creates causes, and karmic law adjusts the effect. People often ask if the notion of karma means that chance and free will play no part in our life circumstances. Christopher Bach puts forward the view that some of the basic conditions and events that shape our lives may be planned, but it does not mean that everything in our lives is predetermined. There is some degree of randomness. I think this concept is very important, as it also leaves room for intervention through development by us of insight and knowledge. This is often why people come for a tarot reading in the first place. Tarot can show the present, which has evolved from past choices we have made and the patterns that we have weaved. It can also give insight into our present situation and show the connecting threads from our past and reveal new directions and possibilities. We are continually creating our own karma by the life choices we individually make. There is often controversy as to whether the tarot is predictive. In the main, human beings are highly repetitive in their behaviours and thus appear to be predictive in that they repeat the same patterns over and over again. It is often expected that a tarot consultation will tell a future, as if the future is some mysterious destination at which we will someday arrive. The future is not static, it evolves. Our future is in the process of becoming. The consequences of the choices we made in the past are now being dealt with in the present. The choices we are now in the process of making will form part of our future. Many fatalists believe that our lives here on earth are only to live out karma and are totally predestined. This attitude fails to incorporate the concept of free will, which is in the myth of the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve utilised their free will and their free choice, and from this our human existence began. Each day we are creating our karma for this life and the next life through utilising our free will and free choice. In the tarot, the card that symbolises free will and free choice is the card of the Lovers. In the Lovers of the Rider-Waite deck, we can see the formula for correct choice. The male, representing the masculine or conscious mind, looks to the feminine or the subconscious, who then looks to the angel, representing the spirit or the higher self, for guidance. Justice in the tarot is the point on our journey through life where we take each responsibility for the choices we make and for creating our own life circumstances, our own karma. At this point it might be helpful to look at a more psychological perspective. Noted psychiatrist Carl Jung says that justice represents the equilibrium between individual will and universal providence. In order to give a solid direction to one's life and to estimate correctly one's actions and their consequences, one has to allow the largely ignored aspirations and urges of the unconscious to challenge self-satisfaction with one's successful conscious choices. In the Universal Tarot deck, justice is called karma, and the author Maxwell Miller describes the image as weighing two Oriental traditions, Egyptian mythology and the Buddhist idea of karmic reincarnation. The seated figure is a Tara or goddess from the Buddhist tradition, mirrored by her own reflection, as is the imagery all around her. Light becomes dark, the sun mirrors the moon. It is similar to the Egyptian term Hall of Two Truths, where the deceased heart is weighed by Ma'at, the goddess of law, truth and justice, against the feather of truth. She is said to have all-seeing eyes and compassion to balance the cold sword of detachment. The Wheel of Fortune from the Mythic Tarot deck, which by the way is my favourite Wheel of Fortune card, clearly illustrates the destiny aspect as discussed in the secret doctrine of the Theosophical Society. In the card we have the three fates, Clotho the spinner, Lachesis the measurer, and Atropos, whose name means she who cannot be avoided, the cutter. Together they weave the thread of a human life, which contains the intelligent and orderly plan behind the apparently random changes in life. I connect the weaving to the printing of a tapestry of a human life. A tapestry does not come alive until we fill in the outline with coloured threads. This is where I believe we are able to exercise our free will. The wheel can also symbolise the rotation of the forces of change. It is an image of the cycles of our becoming. It symbolises the many stages and evolution of our life and our lives. the process of evolution and involution. In Tarot and Individuation, Eileen Gadd comments that in Native American tradition, the medicine wheel is a symbol for the wheel of life, which is forever evolving and bringing new lessons and truths to the walking of the path. The Earth Walk is based on the understanding that each one of us must stand on each spoke of the great wheel of life many times, and that every direction is to be honoured. It is said that until one has stood on another spoke on the wheel, one cannot know his or her heart. Every living creature will one day see and experience each spoke of the wheel and know its truth. The circle is never ending. Many people feel abandoned in this lifetime, feeling as though, since they have left the safety of the spirit life, they have embarked on a complicated journey without a map. But we have many guiding images in the tarot to show the continuing thread between our life on earth and the source of all life, whether that be divine consciousness, God, Goddess, or the spirit world. The journey of the Fool through the major arcana can be seen as the journey of life, with its opportunity for spiritual and psychological development. In the card of the Magician, with his wand pointing to spirit and his other hand pointing to the earth, his body can be seen as a channel for the manifestation of spirit here on earth. As above, so below. And the infinity symbol above his head suggests that we may experience this many times. The Magician in the card from the symbol on deck is seen as the alchemist, creating the great work of life. In mythology, the Magician corresponds to the Egyptian god Thoth and the Greek god Hermes. Hermes has many aspects and is said to have been the interface between heaven and earth. He may be seen as a channel to manifest divine energy. In his role as messenger of the gods, he acted as an intermediary between God and man. People who particularly resonate to the energy of the Magician are often known as mediums, as they are able to channel messages from spirit to matter. Hermes was also called the Word made flesh, and initiates the Fool on his sacred journey. He also acts as our guide in this life, often revealing an insight to us in a moment of synchronicity. In his role as psychopomp, Hermes acted as the guide for souls through the underworld to new life. Hermes is the image of the active principle of connecting the past life to the present state of consciousness. He often does this through synchronistic happenings and also through our dreams. As our own inner alchemist, he guides us in the creation of our destiny here on earth. The Hierophant also is a symbol of a bridge that connects us with spirit. The name of this conference is Bridging Worlds, and the energy of the Hierophant as the teacher, healer, and wise priest archetype in each one of us connects us to the world of divine energy. And it is through his energy in you that you are all here. The name Hierophant comes from a Greek term, hierophantes, meaning mystic, master of knowledge, and the one who officiates at sacred rites. This card was originally called the Pope, from the term pontifex or pontiff. When I first bought a deck of tarot cards, I was very astounded and perhaps a little bit angry to see the Hierophant in the deck, simply because I had just turned away from Orthodox religion to find the Pope in my newfound spiritual quest. I now have a totally different view of the Hierophant. This card was originally called the Pope, from the term pontifex or pontiff, which has its Semitic root in the word for bridge, to symbolise the spiritual leadership of the heads of external religions, such as the Pope, Moses and Buddha, the living spiritual fathers, a holy man who would act as an intermediary for us between spirit and earth. The Hierophant holds two keys to both the internal and external teachings regarding the development of spirituality. In the Voyager Tarot, James Wanless describes the Hierophant as symbolising the law of self-mastery. Through a Buddhist-like meditative awareness and philosophy that views every experience as a lesson, learning, opportunity for growth, the Hierophant passes the steps or tests of life. Life is your teacher. Use this earthly life as a stepping stone to the top of the temple and to the light. The most easily recognised symbol of a guide in the tarot is our friend, the Hermit, which is an image of the way shower. In the Rider-Waite deck, we see him with his grey beard of wisdom, holding the light for us to follow. He is a symbol of our inner wise self, our spiritual guide, and our ability to learn from our experiences of life. If we use our hermit energy to spend time alone and contemplate where we have been in the past, before we approach the next card of the Wheel of Fortune for yet another revolution, we can gain wisdom from our previous life experiences. The Rider-Waite card of Temperance is an image of an angel with healing wings. On his breast is an image of the spirit, the triangle, enclosed in the square of matter, the material world. We can see this as an interchange between heaven and earth. Angels are called by man or seen by man as messengers from spirit or from God. In the Mythic Tarot deck, we have an image of the goddess Iris, who was the feminine messenger for Hera, Zeus's wife. She was called the goddess of the rainbow, and the rainbow is seen as the rainbow bridge between heaven and earth, between spirit and matter. These wonderful guiding images often appear in our readings and in our dreams when life is difficult and we feel abandoned. They are images that connect us to spiritual wisdom and to healing. There are two other cards that I consider most important when using the tarot with reincarnation. These are the Moon and Judgment, as these are connected to the recalling of the past, whether it be the past in this life or past incarnations. When the card of the Moon arises in any reading, I personally see it as connecting us to the past. Psychologically, I see it as the time before birth. The labour of giving birth, I see the two towers or pillars as the birth canal. And also it connects us to the pre-verbal stage of life. It is the wisdom relating to the paradoxical unity of life and death. The moon can also symbolise a past life connection. In the Rider-Waite card of the moon, we can see the crustacean coming to the surface of the pool of water, which symbolises the unconscious, bringing to the surface ancient and primitive collective images. This is most obvious in our dreams, where we are often aware of recording images that are not in any way familiar to our conscious minds. Past life existences are recalled in dreams and also under hypnosis. Paul Foster Case, a noted author on the tarot, points out that the back of the head contains the oldest part of the brain, the cerebellum and medulla oblongata. These areas reach back in evolution to something more primitive. Case remarks that the medulla remains awake when the rest of the brain sleeps. But the medulla brings us closer to that experience of scuttling along the bottom of the sea of the unconscious. I particularly see the moon as significant in relationship readings, as the moon represents the ancient feminine principle of birth and rebirth, and is experienced through our feelings. So it can symbolise emotional connections that exist like threads from lifetime to lifetime. In the Arthurian Tarot deck by Caitlin and John Matthews, we can see the symbols of new life in the fish coming up from the collective waters of the unconscious, and the moon womb child in its embryotic state, awaiting birth. Another interesting image in the Osho Zen Tarot of the moon, where it is called past lives. And Osho says that the real point is to understand the karmic pattern of our lives and their roots in the endless repetitive cycle that traps us in unconscious behaviour. This is a wake-up call. The events in your life are trying to show you a pattern as ancient as the journey of our own soul. The card of judgment is a very traditional image, and it has been depicted in many forms of artwork as well as in the tarot. It is an ancient symbol of the angel Gabriel, blowing his trumpet, calling souls from the dead to arise from their coffins and to join others in creating a new existence. In the mythic tarot deck, we again see an image of Hermes as Psychopomp, guide of souls, the emissary of Hades, coming to gently summons the dying back to life. In the mythic tarot book, it says in myth, when Tantalus, the king of Lydia, cut his own son in pieces and served them as a feast for the gods, Hermes reassembled the pieces and restored the young man to life. As herald of the heavenly gods, Hermes also freed heroes such as Theseus, who had entered Hades' realm illicitly and then became stuck there. He also guided Orpheus into the Dark Kingdom to seek his lost wife, Eurydice, the feminine, and guided him out again when he had lost her for a second time. Thus Hermes the summoner, who leads the souls of the dead to their accounting and prepares them for renewed life. In a tarot reading, I see the card of judgment as a calling from within for us to move on, to surrender the past, whether it be negative karmic patterns from a past life, or indeed negative psychological patterning from the last 20 years of our present life. There is the opportunity to forgive ourselves and to forgive others, to create a new beginning with a fresh approach to life, to incorporate the parts of the self that have been restricted or mummified, as illustrated in the mythic tarot card of judgment. Psychologically, the card of judgment connects to the idea of resurrection. Carl Jung says, resurrection means re-establishment of human existence after the death of an inner aspect. In Chinese alchemy, this is called the diamond body and is embedded between heaven and earth. I also see the card of judgment as a calling for us to fulfill our destiny or our life work. I often see this work as being soul work and work that we have carried out in a previous existence. Judgment is also a call for us to join with others who are prepared to work for the good of the collective. In the Rider-Waite judgment, there are others also rising from the sea of the collective unconscious to join the dawning of a new beginning. I see this as a calling of the tribe, much as this conference is a calling of the tribe, or the ancestral voices. We are being asked to work for the universal collective good. Returning to the idea of karma, there is not only personal karma, but also international and universal karma. We share a collective karma with those souls who inhabit this planet with us. In the card of judgment, I see the angel's call suggesting that it is now time for each of us as an individual to join with others to balance the forces of universal karma on our planet. People who have near-death experiences often speak of their life deeds flashing before them as if on a video screen, and being in the presence of a being of light, which some people call God. In his book Reflections on Life After Life, Raimonda Moody observed that the judgment in the cases he had studied came not from being judged by the being of light, who seemed to love and accept these people anyway, but rather from within the individual being judged. In this book, Moody quotes the experience of one man, and I quote them to you in part. Then I became aware of the light, just light, all around me. It seemed there was a display, and everything in my life went by for review. I was very ashamed of a lot of the things that I experienced, because it seemed that I had a different knowledge that the light was showing me. I saw what was wrong and what I had done wrong. And it was very real. It showed me not only what I had done, but even how what I had done had affected other people. This is also the process seen in the image of the card of judgment, a summing up of our lives according to our own judgment. Many books dealing with the subject of near-death experiences, described by people who have experienced them, accentuate the most important lesson of our life is to learn how to love our fellow human beings. This is described in Moody's book, where he quotes from an interview with a young man who had a near-death experience. The being asked me about love. How far had I learned to love? What he was asking was obvious to me. Could I love people even when I knew them really well, with all their faults? The tarot card of the Empress is the archetypal symbol of human love and the principle of creation. She is the image of the She is the image of the human capacity for unconditional love. She is the guardian of life and symbolises our ability to create life here on earth, whether it be plant life or animal life or human life. As James Wanless says, the Empress archetype also honours the spirit of the dead. She assists the spirit in rebirth by giving life to it in her womb. When we look at the tarot card of the world, we have an image of the womb or an egg, symbolising that everything finally returns to its origins. The world card symbolises the self as highest spiritual unity that remains unchanged throughout all incarnations. It can be seen as transcendence beyond all things, an image of the period spent in spirit space between lives. It compares to a revolving door. One life or one stage of life has been completed, and we now move into a new phase to become the Fool again. In conclusion, I would like to encourage you to see the images of the tarot, particularly the cards mentioned in this presentation, in connection with reincarnation and karma. In a tarot reading, they can be used to connect to deep, unconscious patterning in an individual that is present in this lifetime and may have been present for many lifetimes. It opens up a deeper level to explore when consulting the tarot. Using the tarot to explore past lives and previous reincarnations, it is possible to read the cards as the physical manifestation of a past life. But what is the purpose of recalling this material? What message does it convey for the present life? If there is a part of us that continues the thread of our life, our lives, then what is the process of development that is pushing through into this life at this time? Renowned psychiatrist Sigmund Freud once said that there is no past, no present, and no future. Time is. If we approach the reading of the tarot from a psychological perspective, we may be able to discover subconscious messages in the form of images which can help to stimulate the birth of a new psychological growth and give a deeper meaning to the present life. We can approach such a reading with the words, "It is as if," thereby connecting the thread between the past and the present by using the tarot reading to tell the story or the myth of a person's life. This life or a past life. The images and the lessons are most likely the same. It is what we do with these images in this life that will create the karma for the future. This also allows us to begin to create completely our new life story. Thank you.